I think this should be the theme song for the lockdown series.
Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast Lockdown Series. Every Monday we'll be connecting with Italian wine people. Join us to find out what they're doing and drinking today. This podcast is brought to you by Colangelo and Partners, the leading fine wine and spirits agency in the US. Visit Colangelo and Partners on www.colangelopr.com.
All right. Hello, everybody. Buonasera. Ciao. Welcome to the lockdown series with Italian wine people. I am Michelle Erland, and I'm very excited to be here with our special guest today, Lawrence Cronin. Lawrence, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, cheers. Nice to be here.
Cheers. It's nice to meet you. So Lawrence, you are the winemaker at Tenuta di Arceno, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Correct.
Lie detector test.
And where are you located right now?
Right now I'm in Castelnuovo Berardenga. So we're in the Chianti Classico region in the southern part, which is Castelnuovo Berardenga. So in the southernmost region, San Guzmán is the closest town to the winery.
Oh, okay. So how's everything going where you are? Are you guys still in lockdown, or are things opening up?
We're coming out of lockdown now. Restaurants are starting to open this weekend. Restaurants were open for takeout not so long ago, like last week, but this week restaurants are opening. Things are getting a lot of people out on bicycles, a lot of people out walking. There's a lot more strict here probably than the States, in the first couple of months. But now, people are getting a lot of exercise now. I think the Italian government has given you a €500 credit to buy a bicycle if you want.
Wow. Well, I'm in New York right now, so we are still on pause. So we are still in our homes and not a lot is open. But one thing we do have is wine. So it's been an amazing opportunity to connect with so many people virtually over wine and to talk about wine. So can you tell us what you're drinking right now?
So it's about 3 o'clock here, so I had to think ahead for dinner. Okay, so I opened up 100% Sangiovese. It's a Strada Sasso, if you can see it. It's our Grand Selezione. 2017 I'm drinking. 100% Sangiovese from one vineyard. We make about 800 cases. Really super high acid, very bright wine.
Oh, very nice. So yeah, even though we spoke about all the humans being on lockdown, I mean nature still continued. So how do you think this year's vintage is doing right now?
I mean, I guess for this lockdown, I'm one of the lucky ones, because being in agriculture, I was never really in lockdown. I was in lockdown, but socially. But the vineyards keep growing and the wine keeps aging. And for agriculture, you were allowed to go to work, because if you don't tend the vines, you lose anything. You don't take care of the wine, you lose everything as well. So I've been going to work every day, almost every day. Limited people. But the vines are growing beautifully. 2019 looks like a super year. We just had flowering start on Monday, and a little earlier than usual, maybe a week earlier than last year. But it's so hard to tell. A lot of people always ask me in spring, so how is the 2020 going to be? It's a long way to go for that.
Exactly. We still have another 2 seasons, right, before harvest ultimately.
Yeah, well, yeah,
anything could happen. I mean, look at now. I mean, January till now, who would have expected this is what 2020 would have looked like? But that's amazing. So yeah, I heard a rumor. You are originally from New York?
I was born in Staten Island, New York, and grew up in Staten Island and New Jersey. Classic, stereotypical Uncle Tony, Cousin Vinny, Uncle Rocky, with my grandmother living in Sicily. A winemaker at this winery since 2002, so that's coming up on 20 years quite soon.
Wow. So you have Sicilian roots. You used to visit your family in Sicily, but what made you want to get into wine?
I mean, I made some moonshine with my grandmother once, but you know, it turned to vinegar. We made white wine one summer. So I had my first experience with that. I went to school for chemical engineering in Syracuse, upstate New York.
Wow.
And didn't really want to do that. And so when I moved to California, I went to another school in Humboldt State, up north in California, very hippie land, peace and love. And my first job was in the wine country, nothing to do with wine. And I was working as a chemist in wine country, and all of a sudden said, why don't I just be a chemist in a winery? And I got a job as a harvest intern in Anderson Valley in Mendocino in 1995. And it was, the winemaker at the time said, you could do the lab work. Sure. I mean, it was really rustic. There was elk horns on top of the lab. So don't think of like a white lab coat and a laboratory. There was elk horns on top of the lab. And I started working there in 1995, and I never looked back.
Wow. I mean, it really is the best industry to be in, the wine industry. Just the people connecting with one another. I mean, you can have so many people with diverse backgrounds and all passionate about this one thing. It's really an incredible industry to be in. So if you've seen some other podcasts episodes that I've done, I love to ask producers this question, because if Sangiovese were to be a person or a child, what kind of personality would it have?
It makes its own rules. You don't know, for harvest, for example, it really depends on what type of harvest, what kind of Sangiovese you get. If it's a warm harvest, you get a completely different Sangiovese than a cold harvest. So it's very fickle, it's very independent. You can't really control it. You just have to steer it in the direction you want and hope it goes where you like kids.
Do you have kids?
I have an 8-year-old soon to turn 9 years old, June 7th.
Oh, wow. Well, happy early birthday to him. So does he have a Sangiovese type personality?
He's stubborn and competitive. Okay, very competitive. During this lockdown, I've been playing a lot of one-on-one soccer or calcio football, whatever you want to call it, in the barn, because he's home from school. So very competitive. Every day we're playing one-on-one, and I can't win anymore. I try to win, but he actually gets into my head now and it says, Poppy, you're over 50 and you have 3 bad knees. So he's not like, he's more mellow than Sangiovese, I would say, but very stubborn like Sangiovese.
So you've been playing soccer or football with him every single day since this began. Do you find that there's more time to spend and do hobbies that you enjoy?
Yeah, I mean, before the lockdown, he was playing football. Italy's crazy for football. You guys don't know. A 7-year-old has 3 coaches for his team, 3 or 4 coaches. Goalie coach. It's quite intense here. And he was playing 3 times a week for his team, Castelnuovo Berardenga. And now that he can't play, there's a lot of pent-up energy in there. So, I get home at 4:30. He's literally waiting at the door with my shoes in my hand. I just change my work clothes, put on my shoes, and I'm out in the barn playing football until 6:30. The only thing that saves me, his television show's on at 6:30. So sometimes I'm looking at my watch, is the show on yet? Because, it gets pretty tiring.
What show does he like?
Well, in my house, we're speaking 3 languages. We're speaking English, German, and Italian, because my wife's from Austria, from Vienna.
Oh, wow.
So the satellite's facing towards Germany. So he's watching this show, I don't know, it's Woozle Goozle. It's this blue bear character who does the news. It's quite an intelligent show. He learns a lot. It's a television show I don't mind him watching. He comes back with things like talking about nuclear disarmament, for an 8-year-old. So he actually learns stuff. But it's called Woozle Goozle. I'm sure you guys never heard of it, but it's quite a funny show.
So Lawrence, what other hobbies have you been
I didn't hear
working on during this lockdown?
No, there's not much time to go after my hobbies because, with the 8-year-old, when I get home, every moment is, willingly, happily, I'm spending with him playing games or playing sports or bike riding or something like that. So, I mean, for me, what I'm doing now is I ride my motorcycle a lot. I ride a motorcycle to work every day, and that gives me a sense of freedom. I leave, even if it's lockdown, I'm out, I'm like, you feel the air, you feel away from this lockdown a little bit. So ride my motorcycle, bicycle, no really other hobbies. Drinking wine, cooking, like everybody else, in March.
Who's the best cook in your family? You or your wife?
She's out, she can't hear me now, so I would say me.
We won't tell her.
We cook a little different, I use a lot more olive oil, a lot more garlic, and she's more refined. She'll cut the vegetables perfect. She's Austrian, and I'll cut things a little more robust, and it's two different styles. But she makes some great Austrian dishes that I can never try to make. But in March, a lot of looking at recipes and cooking and apple pies and things like that.
So you said that restaurants are opening this weekend in your area. Is there a place that you can't wait to go to, or a food you can't wait to have that you haven't had in a while?
Yeah, there's a place in town that makes like a CINGHIALE wild boar stew, and they put that over pasta. So I'm looking forward to that. Things I can't make. If I can't make it, that's what I want to go to the restaurant for.
Exactly. So I actually did hear another rumor, Lawrence. Is it true that you have some skills on the guitar?
This is the urban legend that's going around. About a month ago, I did a virtual tasting in my cantina. And while I was doing the tasting, there's just a guitar sitting in the background. So all the people in the company saw this guitar. So now they think, I can play guitar. I have a guitar. I don't know if that means I can play it. I can try.
Do you have a guitar with you?
But
do you
of course,
have a guitar?
yes.
Well, let's see. We can try.
I better take a drink first.
Cheers.
So I really can't play any songs and things like that. So basically, you said one of my hobbies, maybe I just go and just make up stuff. We'll play anything to I don't play songs, I just make things up. So I'll try to make things up. I'll think about the coronavirus in March, and then I'll think about it now opening up, okay?
There you go.
Okay, that's enough.
That was awesome! You said you can't play guitar. That was amazing. You just made that up now?
Yeah, I tried to be a little dark. The March was a little dark here and cold, and now it's starting to lighten up. So I tried to think about March when it was a little. Also, it was quite scarier in March. Now Italy is just the curves going way down, and you feel a little more happy to go out.
I think this should be the theme song for the lockdown series, Italian Wine Podcast. For sure. Let's talk about, as the world's opening, where do you want to travel as soon as we can start traveling again?
Sicily, because we still have my grandmother's family house in Sicily. And every summer, I go there at least 3 trips. One usually by myself because I have to, fix things in the house. Once with just me and my son, and that's the boys' trip. And we don't really have to clean the house so much. And once with my mother comes from she lives in California now, but she comes here and stays here for a month, and we go to Sicily all together. So me, my mother, and my son. My wife doesn't go because we have a bed and breakfast here. I'm in the bed and breakfast now, so it's summer, she's busy. But at least 3 times a year I go to Sicily, and this year I don't know. Right at this moment, you can't leave your region, so I can't leave Tuscany. So we'll see what happens in July if I can get to Sicily. But the first chance I'll get, it's an hour and a 15-minute flight to Palermo. I'll go to Sicily because I need calamari, beach, and some moonshine white wine. When I used to go with my grandmother, we used to go to restaurants. She wouldn't go to a restaurant unless they had the wine by the carafe.
Well, your grandmother sounds like a wise woman. Well, listen, Lawrence, thank you so much for joining us on the lockdown series. It was great to get to know you. I would like to toast you for this amazing experience. And here's to your family. Here's to Tenuta di Arceno. And hopefully we'll all be together having a glass of Chianti Classico soon. Cheers.
Cheers, and thinking about you in New York.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See you next Monday for another virtual wine journey Italian wine podcast lockdown series.